Thanks for joining us from the Ohio AgNet, the voice you know with the News You Trust studio, sponsored by BASF, where you can count on the trusted performance of Elevo seed treatment to protect your soybean crop. I'm Joe Everett, bringing you today's farm news. Well, during the holiday season, baked goods are a big part of the family tradition. Cookies, pies, sweetbreads, and yes, even fruitcake. It's one of those treats you either love or you love to joke about, but it's been a holiday staple for generations. And here's something you might not expect. A lot of the ingredients in classic fruitcake are grown right here in Ohio. Take cherries, for example. At Miller Orchards near Lake Erie, cherries have been a part of the family operation for more than a century. They grow sweet and sour varieties that end up in pies, baked goods, and plenty of holiday treats. Growing cherries in Ohio is not easy. Weather, heat, and even raccoons keep growers on their toes. But farmers say the spring bloom makes it all worthwhile. Then there are figs. Believe it or not, hardy fig varieties can thrive in Ohio. Ohio State Extension educator Dan Lima says figs can grow on new wood, so even winter dieback does not stop production. With the right amount of care, growers can harvest fresh figs into early fall, perfect for jams and holiday baking. And for that crunch, Ohio-grown walnuts are part of the mix too. Near Marysville, one family is growing black walnuts, a crop that takes patience measured in decades, but one that pays off across generations. So that old holiday fruitcake, it might be more Ohio-grown than you think. To learn more, you can find this full article today at ohioagnet.com. Now let's check in with our own Ty Higgins for an update on this week's podcast.
Episode 423 of the Ohio AgNet podcast is now online at ohioagnet.com. Our farewell to Dale Minyo. He's retiring at the end of the year, and he shares some of his memorable moments and the reason he's been doing this for the past 30 years.
The world's run by those that show up. Thank you for showing up. I sincerely mean that. I started the first broadcast after Ed's passing was thanks for joining us. And I've meant that every day ever since on every broadcast. As part of our opening now, it's important that we recognize you're out there and need information, and we try to serve it to you in the best and sometimes entertaining way that we can.
Also on the podcast, I talk with Dr. Leah Dorman. She is part of the newly created Protect Ohio initiative to get more youth involved in veterinary medicine.
I think part of my role is to be able to offer some opportunities that maybe didn't exist when I was in their shoes. And that's really part of what Protect Ohio is about, is that collectively Protect Ohio can offer some of those opportunities, scholarships, which is one of the things that we've already done, is we've been able to offer some scholarships to students who are interested in going back to a rural community in Ohio and who are interested in large animal medicine to alleviate that college debt load once they come out. That's huge, because when you don't have quite that big payment coming out, you can potentially look at that as an option that maybe they wouldn't otherwise be able to do.
Then Joel Panorwood visits with Dr. Margaret Judlowski about the future of labor in agriculture and how H-2A needs to be a big part of the policy conversation moving forward.
There's a lot of different answers. I think recognizing the fact that there needs to be some sort of policy for agriculture that makes sense. It's an industry that matters hugely for the future of our country. It mattered hugely in the history of our country. And in order for it to continue to have that role, food production is going to have to happen somewhere, regardless of whether that's happening in other countries where they have a more flexible labor market policy, or if it's happening here, it's going to happen somewhere. And if we want it to keep happening here, there just needs to be a realistic labor market solution.
That's all on the brand new Ohio AgNet podcast, the audio and video versions online at ohioagnet.com. I'm Ty Higgins reporting.
Hey, thanks, Ty, for the update. New and now at ohioagnet.com, farmers are harnessing data for smarter farming decisions. Data-driven decision-making is becoming a bigger part of how farmers manage their operations, and it's changing the way decisions get made in the field. From crop performance and input costs to weather and market prices, farming is full of variables. Relying only on experience can leave opportunities on the table. That's where data comes in. It helps replace guesswork with measurable insights, improves efficiency, manages risk, and ultimately boosts profitability, all while supporting long-term soil health and sustainability. Farmers today have access to more data than ever. Soil samples and maps help fine-tune fertilizer applications. Yield data shows which parts of the field perform best. Weather data helps guide planning, irrigation, and harvest timing. Financial records track return on investment, while modern equipment and sensors provide real-time feedback during field operations. The key is turning that information into action. On-farm research and multi-year trials help farmers see what really works on their own acres. Programs like Ohio State's eFields Network helps producers design trials, analyze results, and learn from others across the state. The 2025 eFields report will be released on January 8th, offering new insights from farms across Ohio. To learn more, you can find this full article at ohioagnet.com. It's now time for today's weather, which is brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Here's the forecast.
Warmer air continues to move into the Buckeye State today. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin. Let's take a look at that forecast update. Little cloud cover still lingering early this morning, but I think we clear out quite nicely as we move through the midday and afternoon hours. Temperatures above normal. Tomorrow looks great. High pressure sitting right on top of us with more warm air in charge. Clouds build overnight tomorrow night, and Christmas morning may wake up to a little bit of light rain, especially I-70 southward, but I'm not going to rule it out anywhere at this point. Right now, we're talking a few hundredths to maybe half an inch with coverage at around 60% of the state. We clear out as we move through the nighttime hours of Christmas. Stay relatively pleasant through Friday. More warm air here. Clouds building, though, Friday, and that brings another round of moisture up to half an inch with coverage around 80%. Quite windy and warm for Saturday ahead of a cold front that comes in on Sunday. That cold front doesn't bring much moisture, but it does bring a big change in temps for the rest of the weekend and early next week. I'm Ryan Martin.
Hey, thanks, Ryan, for the update. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more next here on the Ohio AgNet.
When you combine the advanced technology of Enlist E3 soybeans with Seed Consultants' dedication to performance in the Eastern Corn Belt, it's a simply better experience. Our Seed Consultants brand soybeans are hand-selected, tested, and proven to perform in your conditions, backed by the local knowledge of Seed Consultants sales professionals. Bind to better soybeans with reliability and results packed into every variety. Visit seedconsultants.com.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
You're tuning in on the Ohio AgNet. As we look to other notes, many U.S. farmers say a newly announced $12 billion federal aid package will not be enough to offset mounting financial pressure caused by weak commodity prices, high input costs, and lingering trade disruptions. The assistance unveiled by the Trump administration is designed as a temporary bridge for producers facing declining export demand and rising expenses. But farm groups and economists warn the payments may only partially cover losses, particularly for growers hit hardest by reduced overseas sales. Soybean producers remain among the most affected after years of reduced purchases from China, once the largest buyer of U.S. soybeans. Corn, wheat, and specialty crop producers have also reported narrowing margins. USDA officials say that the aid is intended to stabilize farm income, while longer-term policy changes still take shape. Still, some farmers argue the package does little to address trade challenges, including market access barriers and growing competition from foreign exporters. Well, lawmakers are divided on whether a farm bill can be passed in 2026. Congressional Republicans plan to revive stalled farm bill negotiations in January after failing to pass a new measure by year's end, extending uncertainty for farmers facing high cost, inflation, and trade disruptions. House Agriculture Committee Chairman G.T. Thompson said he hopes to schedule a committee markup ahead of a January 30th funding deadline, though he acknowledged it may be difficult to attach the bill to must-pass spending legislation. The delay means Congress will enter a third year without updating major agriculture policy. Lawmakers remain divided over whether a traditional 5-year farm bill is still achievable. Thompson and Senate Agriculture Chairman John Boozman said progress remains possible even in an election year. But some policy experts are skeptical, noting recent budget legislation sharply expanded farm subsidies while cutting food assistance, weakening the long-standing political link between the two. Congress extended the 2018 Farm Bill for another year in November, giving lawmakers until September 30th, 2026 to enact a replacement. Well, a new USDA labeling rule will take effect on January 1st, tightening standards for when meat, poultry, and egg products may be identified as a product of the United States. Under the regulation finalized in March of 2024, companies may use labels such as a product of the USA or made in USA only if animals were born, raised, slaughtered, and processed in the United States. Meat from animals imported live for feeding or processing will no longer qualify. Products that are minimally processed may use qualified claims, such as noting they were sliced or packaged domestically using imported meat. The rule does not require companies to use U.S. origin labels, but any firm that does must maintain records supporting the claim. The USDA will generically approve labels without additional verification programs. The regulation applies only to domestic sales, not exports. Critics warn it could strain trade ties, particularly with Canada and Mexico, and discourage imports of live animals. Well, new numbers show significant staffing changes at the U.S. Department of Agriculture this year. According to a report from the USDA Office of Inspector General, at least 1 in 5 USDA employees left their jobs in 2025. The report shows that more than 20,000 employees left the department in less than 6 months, dropping USDA staffing from about 110,000 workers at the start of the year to just over 90,000 by mid-June. Later figures suggest the numbers fell even further by early fall. A major driver was the deferred resignation package offered in April, which allowed employees to leave with 6 months of pay. More than 15,000 USDA workers chose that option. The report also shows additional departures from retirements, resignations, and terminations. Some agencies saw especially deep cuts, losing more than a third of their staff since the start of the Trump administration. USDA officials say the numbers include temporary employees whose terms ended and stressed that the department is still hiring for critical national security and public safety roles. USDA leadership says the workforce changes are part of an effort to reduce cost, refocus on customer service, and prioritize farmers while remaining transparent about staffing decisions. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more after this.
Attention farmers, Jim and Jody Johnson are retiring and their premium equipment is heading to Purple Wave's December 30th Ag Auction. Don't miss their 2024 John Deere ExactEmerge 1775 NT Planter and 2019 John Deere S760 Combine. This retirement auction features well-maintained machinery that's been part of a successful farming operation with equipment located in Osage, Iowa. Everything sells. Absolute no reserve to the highest bidder. Visit purplewave.com for details. Purple Wave Auction, straight, simple, sold.
It's now time for today's market analysis, which is brought to you by the Louis Dreyfus Company, excited to be building the newest state-of-the-art soybean crush facility in Upper Sandusky, Ohio. Call 574-566-2113 for information on soybean marketing to LDC. Here's Ryan Martin.
Grain markets finished mostly higher on Monday to start the week. However, it was in a very low or at least reduced volume trade. Wheat was the upside leader yesterday due to the recent Russian attacks on the Ukraine port infrastructure. The market has added war premium to price due to the uncertainty of Black Sea grain trade going forward. Also, we see Black Sea insurance rates rising. However, the holidays are going to limit the urgency of Russian exporters to garner new tonnages beyond the middle of January, when traders will return from their Orthodox Christmas holiday. Weekly export inspections yesterday, pedestrian at best. The U.S. sold 14 million bushels of wheat for the week ending December 4th, 58.2 million bushels of corn, 57 million bushels of soybeans. China showed up, securing 1 million metric tons of beans in a known category, while there were 213,000 metric tons of unknown soybeans that were, you got it, canceled. I'm Ryan Martin.
Hey, thanks, Ryan. Now let's take a look at your overnight trade brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. March corn 446.5, down a half. May corn 454, down a half. As we turn to soybeans, January 1053.5, up a quarter. March soybeans 1065.5, up a half. And July wheat 536.5, down 3/4. As we look to livestock from yesterday's close, December live cattle 230.72, up 32 cents. February live cattle 231.42, up 62 cents. April lean hogs 89.78, up 75 cents. April feeder cattle 339, up $1.40. This is the Ohio AgNet.